Perfect.
Okay.
And Margot, Nicole just joined. She's the host. And she's going to go ahead and record this, and we'll turn it over to Nicole, the host. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Sorry
Nicole.
about that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Oh, God.
So there was one thing I didn't calculate in my timing is that the US has not done the clock change yet.
Yeah, we're funny that way.
So those in Europe might be joining us a little bit late. Anyway, welcome everybody.
I'm sorry, I either have to go or I have to read the poem now
Yeah,
because my
so-
film is ending.
Margot, please go ahead and read something. I will give an intro afterwards. She is in the middle of
Okay.
class, so we're going to let her read something that she picked out ahead of time.
I read this to Jim. I read the first verse of this to Jim when we were in China, but I didn't read the second. So I'm going to try to read the whole thing this time.
Okay.
It goes like this. It's a Wallace Stevens poem called The Emperor of Ice Cream. Call the roller of big cigars, a muscular one, and bid him whip in kitchen cups concupiscent curds. Let the wenches dawdle in such dress as they are used to wear, and let the boys bring flowers in last month's newspapers. Let B be the finale of scene. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. Second verse, take from the dresser of deal, lacking the 3 glass knobs, that sheet on which he embroidered fantails once, and spread it so as to cover his face. If his horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold he is and dumb. Let the lamp affix its beam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. There we go. My movie's ending, so I gotta run it for my students. See
Sorry,
you.
Margot. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry the timing didn't work out.
It's okay, it's not too bad. See you later.
Right.
I don't know how to get out of this. Maybe you can kick me out. Can you kick me out? Because I don't know how to get out.
There should be an end button somewhere on your screen.
Yep. End meeting up on
It's
top.
a leave.
Name. Remove. I'm going to remove you.
Oh, there we go.
Remove Margaret.
Remove me.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. This is put together really as an informal gathering just to celebrate the life of Jim. I think that he really would have wanted something like this so that we can all come together and sit around and tell stories. I think that's much more his style. I just wanted to say a few words initially. First, I'm Nicole, I'm his daughter. I'm organizing things tonight, but it's really just going to be more of just a sharing forum. If anyone wants to say anything, please just raise your hand. I was planning on having those in Europe start first because it was so late, but they might not be joining for another hour because of the time difference. Anyway, so Margot went. I'm going to say a few words just about what happened to Jim. I don't want to go into it too much because it's a very long and complicated story. But if you don't know what happened, he has been battling in and out of the hospital and nursing facilities for almost 2 years, but he was not sick. It started with an injury at home. His chair fell back and he hit his head on the floor, and it caused bleeding hemorrhage in his brain, but he was okay. We took him to the hospital, and that set off an entire nightmare story of getting into the American medical system. And we are working on a complete story about it that will go onto the website. So details can be read at a later time. We're also working on a lawsuit because a lot of really horrible, terrible things happened. And it's been a terrible saga for the last 2 years. And it really, the worst part is it really was unnecessary. And he was okay for all sakes and purposes, except that he had a trachea tube that was not removed, and he was bedridden, and that caused a series of events. And the medical system basically kept him hostage. And we fought day in and day out. And here I have to introduce my sister, Doreen. Doreen can say hello. She single-handedly fought every single day with the doctors and the nurses. And for almost 2 full years, every day was battling to make sure that Jim was treated properly and had the care that he needed, and constantly battled just unending incompetence and neglect. And we were able to finally get him home with a private nurse, and he was getting better, and we were all very hopeful that he was going to be able to finally get back on his feet. And there was a malfunction with the trachea collar that he was released with that didn't have a perfect seal, and that led to him being oxygen deprived and going into cardiac arrest. And so that is what happened to finally exhaust his beautiful light. So there will be a section on the website explaining this more. If anyone has any recommendations for malpractice attorneys, we are welcome to referrals. Anyway, so that is getting just a very brief synopsis of a long and very enduring saga with Jim. And again, thank you to Doreen for all of her work. Just unbelievable effort, tireless, unbelievable effort through all of this. So thank you, Doreen. Anyway, so on a happier note, today would have been Jim's 73rd birthday. So let's celebrate this wonderful man. So many people have sent me such lovely messages and on the NRM list and everything, just saying how much he affected their lives and helped them and was a great friend and great colleague. So we'll start with the family. Mom, Evelyn, would you like to? I know you picked out a reading from Khalil Gibran, is that correct?
Yes. Can you see me and hear me all right?
Yes.
Good, good. All right. This is a book that my favorite book since 12 years old. And the little dissertation short about marriage really, really fits us. So I will say, when asked what, again, this is Khalil Gibran, when he answered about what is marriage, you were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. You shall be together even in the silent memory of God. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. That is exactly the kind of relationship we've had. Jim and I were extremely close, mentally, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, physically. But I often kidded about being an academic widow because he traveled to so many countries and I was left alone for a long time. But I was doing my job for him, which was holding down the fort and taking care of supporting his career, which he has acknowledged me for. And I've been so grateful for his acknowledgement. I have to say, this was one of the dearest, sweetest human beings I've ever known in my life. And other people have also commented on it. He was a captain of calmness, of bringing peace where there was conflict in the areas of big lectures, Japan, and other areas where there were large crowds of media press during one of the Aum Shinrikyo issues that he went over there for. At any rate, I can only say shortly now that Jim was looking so forward to going back to the place he loved and had the most incredible relationship of colleagues ever in any place or university he's been, and that was at the University of Wuhan. His colleagues there, Jan, and help me, Nicole, I'm breaking up right now.
It's fine.
Ciao.
Hey,
And-
Young and
and-
Xiao and Kelvin.
Yes.
I want to also thank Kelvin too,
And-
because throughout the whole 2 years, Kelvin has been helping us with all of the paperwork with Jim and passports and permits and visas and his salary. And he's,
Oh, God.
so thank you, Kelvin, very much
It's my
for all of your
pleasure.
help.
It's my pleasure.
Kelvin is a miracle worker, and Jim loved him dearly, and so did I. And we even have a special gift for Kelvin when I can get over there and bring it. But
Also, and Zing Zang as well was really
Oh, yeah.
working so much. I don't think he's on here yet. We'll see if he's able to join us.
yes, and he wrote I saw the Chinese version of the memorial that Zing Zang did earlier today. It was absolutely lovely.
I've
I don't
uploaded
wanna-
that to the website.
What did you say?
I've uploaded that to the website so people can see
Oh,
it.
good. Well, I do have one thing I think all of you would like to know as religious scholars. When Jim was, I had him taken, I called paramedics right away when I saw his respiration increasing. And they came, they worked on him, and they could not get the oxygen through because of the faulty trach. All the years that we've been going through this, 2 years, it's all been about getting the trach out. And these facilities refuse to do it. And because that kept him incarcerated in their system. And Jim was worked on by the paramedics. There were 8 of them here. And then we took him right away to the ER at Chandler Regional, great hospital. And the crew was working on him in the ER, and I stood right there with Jim. And they worked on him for a good hour or more. And then the head doctor came over to me to console me and say they couldn't do any more. They couldn't keep his heart beating. And with all the paddles and the injections, he was giving me his condolences. And I said, "May I go over to Jim's head?" Yes. And so I went up to Jim's head and I put my hands around his forehead and my lips on his forehead. And I said, "Jim, please, just for me, make your heart beat, just for me." And all of a sudden, everybody was going like a joyful, and it was like a launch. I used to be part of that world. It was like a launch had gone up, and the third stage, and the missiles off, and they laughed. They just gleaming with joy. And Jim's heart kept beating. Put him in a lovely room in the ICU, intensive care unit, and a place that allowed me to stay overnight. And Jim kept alive for 2 days. However, because of the carbon monoxide due to the trachea failing, it rendered him brain dead. But his doctor said, "In all the years I've seen this type of thing, I know that he can hear you." So it was a good idea from the doctor. I called Jim's family and put the cell phone up to his ear. And each member of his family, brother, sister, and his niece and nephew were able to give Jim a farewell, and tearful farewell, acknowledging what a wonderful guy he was in their life. So when it was time, and because he gave me that time, I was able to sit there, be with him and speak to him. And tell him I was going to have his ashes spread in the place that he was felt at home at the most. And we're between China, actually, with Xinjiang, and also Italy with our family there. He loved Italy. I mean, it was when Nicole got married there, and we also renewed our wedding vows there in Italy. He was just probably the most happy man I've ever seen anywhere. And so that's the best I can contribute right now without holding up space for other people to get on here. But I do want you to know this was a tough fighting man. He had such strength. He did not have a heart condition. He did not have any condition other than the condition of this ruthless medical system that kept him incarcerated for his insurance and would not allow his primary care doctor to come in to get him out of there. And this is something that he wanted to write about it with me. And so I will wind up writing it by myself unless there's some co-author that would be willing to help me. So there it is. I love my husband dearly. I do not feel alone. I feel grief for what we are not going to have together as we planned, but I do not feel a lack of love. His love has been surrounding me. So I feel very, 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 very content. And I'm dealing with everything to the best of my ability. So thank you all for joining us. And the only other thing I want to add, what Nikki started to say, is the tireless, relentless, exhaustive work that Doreen has put in to document. I mean, she is a lawyer personified. She has done a job.
And over the last 2 years, she's become a doctor and a physician and a medical advocate and all sorts of other.
She is. She's a genius. This woman is a genius. And what she has come to reveal is just yet to be handled by a very, very competent attorney who will be very happy to take this case to help other people not have the experience that Jim was put through. At any rate, and all of us as well, I went there every day to advocate for him. All right, that's
Right.
the best I can contribute now. Thank you so much for the love and support that you all have given him over the years, and colleagues. I'm sorry I hadn't been in touch with you during this time, but I was just totally involved with Jim from morning till night till I drove home and too exhausted to do anything but go to bed. So that's it for me.
And we've thanked a few people, but I also want to mention just the help that Margot, she's no longer here, has put in, but also Carol Cusack. You've been
Oh my God, Carol.
You've been so amazing through all of this, helping with getting
Yes.
articles and taking over multiple journals and helping with publishing. And it's just, thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You also work tirelessly with all the other projects you have going on. And so
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
And the journal has received amazing reviews because of Carol's work.
ASRR has, yeah.
Yes, and Xinjiang wants to continue Jim's work by having the journal at his institute. So Carol, we need to speak. And
and here is Xinjiang. Welcome.
Wow.
And
Oh,
Professor Chow as well has joined us, I see. Yes.
that's wonderful.
So welcome. Thank you for joining. Anyway, so we'll continue on with the family and then open it up to anyone else who wants to read. Doreen, do you want to say anything?
Joey, are you there? Oh, there she
Yeah,
is.
I'm sorry, I'm just too
That's fine.
emotional.
You don't have to say anything. Melanie, would you like to say anything? I know you wanted to read something, right?
Well, I really just want to share just some thoughts, maybe about 2 or 3 minutes. I don't want to take away from the time from everyone around the world who's dialing in so early and so late to share all of, their stories and remembrances. I want to thank the team in China for the beautiful, beautiful tribute Mom shared with me. So for those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Melanie. I'm Evelyn's daughter. I'm Doreen and Nicole's sister. And Jim was Daddy Jim. He was just absolutely amazing. And I also have to say it's absolutely incredible what Doreen has done. Doreen is positively brilliant for all the things that she's done to advocate for Jim and be his voice, no matter what the hospital system and the doctors have done. Doreen has just tirelessly fought for him. And so, but I wanted to take just a couple minutes just to say, I'm sure like all of you, it's hard to believe that he's not here, that he's transitioned. And I was telling Nicole that it feels like the power of his spirit is everywhere. It's like Star Wars. It's like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And now that he's gone from our dimension, he's more powerful than ever. It's really interesting because it just feels like his spirit is just here to guide all of us who love him and all those who he loves, because in the days following his passing from this earth, I've just really felt his presence. And like Mom has said, she's really felt his love. And I've just had these constant feelings of gratefulness for what a wonderful man he is. And I say is, because his spirit is eternal. And I think for as long as we keep his memory alive and share stories about him, his spirit is eternal. And what I'm going to share, I'll say, was, I think for what we all experienced when he was in the physical being, as so many of you know, his demeanor was just amazing. He was just a human of eternal patience and kindness. And he was just always so loving and just always the Southern gentleman. And it just melted my heart every time he would refer to our mom as darling. And he was always very sweet to her. Nicole can tell you, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to not fall apart here. He was a phenomenal dad to Nicole from when she was little, 9 years old. And
Yep.
she really had the benefit of having a really great dad to raise her and for them to travel everywhere and be in China and be in Norway and be in all the wonderful places that they were. It speaks volumes to a man's character when he assumes the role of dad, not just to marrying a woman with one child, but three. And Doreen and I were already adults. And what was really wonderful too is he was such a great grandfather to Alexis, and just so sweet and so loving to her. And it's just truly a testament to his commitment to our mom and to making us a family, even adopting us as adults.
Mhm.
I'd say our mom found a t-shirt many years ago that said that anyone can be a father, but it takes someone very special to be a dad. And Jim was indeed very, very special. And as all of you know who've worked with him and known him over the many, many years, he always had a very mindful, thoughtful approach to every situation. And his words of wisdom were always spot on, and his sense of humor was absolutely intoxicating. And as all of you know that. And his love of funny cat videos was just a joy.
Yes.
And he would gleefully share hilarious jokes with Mom, Doreen, and I, some of them off color, which I would run out and tell my friends, and they were really hysterical. And I think he just kept us all in tears of laughter, and he was just so spectacular. And what's really interesting is that having our Italian DNA, it was totally normal in our home to grow up and respond to things with a heightened degree of emotion, and very quickly respond to things without really thinking through them. And I just really learned so much from him because he had such a calm, educated, brilliant approach to everything that I'm in awe of that to this day. It was, as you all know, he would take everything in, triangulate the information in his head, and then deliver the
And then
best
rub his beard.
appropriate response, or direction. And God, I wish I could learn to do that. I'm 57. I don't think I'll ever learn to do that, but he was so amazing. So So I will say, I know we will all miss him so very much. And there are many, many tearful days and a huge big void in the universe for all of us who are lucky to have him in our lives for the time we did. So I will say this, Daddy Jim, we love you. We miss you. We will keep your spirit alive every day in our hearts. And something that's very important to me is to light a candle and raise a glass in his honor each November 3rd on the day of his birth, and each October 11th on the day he transitioned from this dimension, and share a memory or a story about how he made the world a better place just by being in it. So that's what I have to share, and thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being
Melanie.
here.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being so amazing and so great in his life.
Thank you. So Ara, hello. Would you like to say anything, or anybody with you would like to say anything? Don't want to spring that on you. So
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. I don't know, we all,
they've had very last minute notice on this. Don't worry.
yeah,
Giving you a moment.
everything you've been saying about him is so true, with the jokes and the calmness and just being really sweet. That is what I remember about him the most too.
Great. Gia, do you want to say anything? Yes, no.
The only thing I would say is it's so interesting because I met Jim later, or when I was younger, but I didn't spend that much time with him. But I think one of his colleagues had posted a lot of pictures of him when he was a yogi.
Yes.
Which I had no idea that was Jim. My mouth was on the floor. I was like, that makes all the sense in the world. Like, he was calm and patient with, my mom and Nona, and we're all crazy and loud, and he's just always so calm and patient, and he always had this Zen aura about him. So after I saw the picture, I was like, that's what it was. It all makes sense. So that's the one piece I wanted to share.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing those pictures. And are you on here? I think it was Brad and Frank that shared pictures. Is that correct? I haven't met you in person, but I've heard stories. Hello, welcome. I want to go over to Carol because I know you prepared something you'd like to read, and you did have something else picked out that was a bit longer. That sounds very fun. But you've got.
Thanks, Nicole. I'll post the longer Native American story on the memorial site. I've been trying really hard to remember when I first exchanged emails with Jim, because he literally emailed me out of the blue, and it was maybe 2003, almost 20 years ago. At that point, he was interested in coming to Australia for a research trip, which is a sad thing because it never happened. It didn't ultimately turn out. But before I knew what had happened to me, I just responded to the emails, and I knew who he was. Obviously, I had books by him on my shelf, but they never it didn't stop. He'd write and he'd say, hey, I'm doing this. You should do something for it. Hey, look, I've got a space in a journal issue and I haven't got something. Surely you could be able to produce something. And then I would. And then we got into a much closer sort of relationship in 2010, which was the year that we first met in person. We met because Brill wanted to have a meeting with us in Amsterdam about the Brill Handbook series and what kind of directions it was going to go in, etc. And, we sat in a very pretty hotel drinking coffee and talking about publishing and stuff. And he was disarmingly frank with me. He said, they think I need another series editor. And I said, yes. And he said, well, you're a woman and you're not European or American. So that's two big ticks, right? And then he said, and you'll be the bad cop, won't you? And I can continue to be the good guy?
Yeah, he was incapable of being the bad cop.
It was so funny. first time I actually meet Jim, and there he is saying to me, I want you because A, you're female, B, you come from the Antipodes, and C, you'll kick heads, so I don't have to kick heads. And the remainder of our relationship really was a lot like that. He used to give me projects and he'd say, I don't know what to do. You know, half of these chapters can't be published. And I'd write, this chapter is garbage. Either you will rewrite it or it's not going in the book. And he'd be going, I didn't have to do that. You know, I could, and he'd say things like, I knew he used to have different conversation with the same author. Oh, you know, she's really, you know, like a bit blunt and yeah, tactless even. And he would never kind of admit that he'd really sick me on.
But yeah, it would sick you on them, exactly.
Which was really funny. And when I thought about, you know, I mean, it's been always really good to work with you, Nicole, because we started working on alternative spirituality and religion review before I actually met you in Norway. So some of the things that people have already mentioned, I mean, I have 4 cats, and you're not going to get the most glamorous view, but the only one who's actually sitting with me, this is her backside. But Jim used to show great interest in my cats, and over the long period of our acquaintance, of course, some of them have died and new ones have come along, and we used to keep up on the cat business. But the thing we had most going that I wanted to share today, because I think it's not going to be something anybody else does, is that we had a long running, 10 years at least, maybe longer, gag going about badgers. And this, if people think that thinking of Jim being interested in badgers sounds strange, it began with 2 things. Discussing the raccoons in America, and it's really interesting because it was my partner who died last year, Donald, who also knew Jim very slightly. They shared this story because Don said once that he'd lived for a year in Canada, and the thing that shocked him the most was coming home from his late night jobs to the grim little backpackers that he was living in. He said, I'd see raccoons that were nearly as big as me raiding the bins, and if I even dared look at them, they'd turn around and they'd say, what the fuck you staring at? And Jim thought that was really funny. And because Donald was English, he said, what's a raccoon in England? And Don said, well, we don't have raccoons in England. And he said, oh, we got badgers. Maybe they will do. And Jim sort of said, badger? Geez, what's a badger? And we had a bit of a thing about badgers. And then a little while later, when we were not in the same country, just exchanging emails, he'd worked out that the word to badger meant to nag someone.
He used it
And
all the time.
since he hired me sort of to be his nagging person, the badger references flowed thick and fast.
Yeah.
And of course, it kind of had a religious studies application. And my little reading, which won't take long, and I'll do it now, reflects that, because badger spirits are very powerful in lots of different countries. And I originally sent to Nicole and Margot a story that was a Native American story, but I've just figured out I did a rehearsal reading of it and it would have taken 20 minutes to read, and that's inappropriate. And I also felt that it's not my story to tell, it's a Native American story, so I didn't want to truncate it or abbreviate it in any kind of way. So I went to this favorite site that we used to look at, which is called badgerland.co.uk, and I'll put it up on the memorial site. And I found a lovely Japanese badger spirit story, and I thought it would be a good one to read, so I'm going to. It's called The Teapot Badger. There was once a poor old man who was kind to everyone, especially to children. He told them stories, taught them how to paint pictures and write, and shared whatever little bits of food he managed to grow in his garden. "That is a fine old man," said Badger. "I think I will reward him for all his kindness." Badger went to the old man's house and turned himself into a teapot full of delicious tea. When the old man found the teapot, he was very much surprised and happy because he had never been able to afford a teapot. In the evening, 3 children came to the old man's garden. "Tell us a story," they pleaded. "I'll tell you a true story today," said the man, and he told the 3 children about the magic teapot. When the story was done, he went to the orchard to pick some fruit for his guests. While the old man was gone, the children said, "Let's go into the house and steal the magic teapot." As the children crept into the house, the pot turned back into Badger, his long teeth flashing and his tail waving in anger. Badger chased after the thieves, nipping at their heels and growling fiercely. The children fled from the house screaming, while the Badger laughed. "Whatever is the matter?" called the old man from the orchard. "Your teapot is really a badger spirit," sobbed the children. "Look here, he nipped our feet." "How can a teapot be Badger?" said the old man. He went into his house. There was the teapot, same as ever. The man came out and said to the children, "Surely you were dreaming." Then he went back to the orchard. Then he heard screams and hollering coming from inside the house. The children had gone back in to harm the teapot, but he had turned into Badger. "Never mistreat me," he snarled. At the same time, the old man hobbled back into the house. The old man was about to hit Badger, but then the Badger told him what the children had done, and their faces were red with shame. "This house is no place for me," said Badger finally. "Here is what we'll do, old man. You and I shall travel on the roads together and give shows along the way. It will be a magic show where I will turn back and forth between teapot and my badger spirit form. People will give us many gold coins to see this wonderful trick." This is the way the old man finally became rich. Then he came back home and he put the teapot in a little temple on the top of the hill in his orchard. It was greatly honored there, especially by the children who had once tried to steal it.
Is that it? You done?
I am.
Thank you very much. That was a lovely, fun tale to tell. Is there anybody else that would like? I know Alex. Alex, you had. Does anyone just raise your hand so I can see?
Yeah, I was.
Paul, hello, Paul.
Yeah, hi. It's nice to see you again. First, I wanted to thank Nicole for putting this together. I really knew, Jim and Eve and Nicole from Santa Barbara days through our daughter KK. And,
She was my best friend in high school.
Yeah, right. Well,
And
she'll
for
be
many
over a
years
little bit.
thereafter.
She'll be over to pick up the grandkids. We're watching them today. So if you hear some extraneous noises, they're running around. They're 2 and 4, but they'll soon be 3 and 5. So
Amazing.
anyway, but what I mainly wanted to say is, I did have time to talk with Jim on a number of occasions, but again, this was quite a few years ago. But I just wanted to mention that I was very impressed with Jim's courage to pursue a vision that was really pretty much outside the mainstream, and in being able for him to find a way to reach out around the world and really make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty rare thing. So anyway, so that's really what I had to say. I mean, my own background is more traditional science, and that's sort of
Well, you're an amazing scientist. He works
but
on
anyway, so
micro miniature
well, yeah,
tools,
think mostly stuff for NASA, but
deep underwater
but again,
exploration for NASA.
it was sort of straightforward in the sense that getting grants or contracts with NASA and so on. So but in Jim's case, he had to sort of invent everything out of whole cloth almost, so it wasn't a set piece to just plug into. So
Yeah. Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you for joining us. Nice to see your face after all these years.
yeah, it's nice to see you again too. And Eve as well. You Eve as well. So.
Alex, is he on here? He wanted to read something. I don't see him on here. Is there anyone else that had anything prepared? Frank, are you waving your hand? You need to unmute yourself on your screen. There's a little bar along the bottom, and you can, if you select mute.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Nico.
Oh,
Can you hear
hi,
me?
Kelvin. I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Since nobody want to say, I want to share a very small story with you. I'm Kelvin, and I'm Jim's assistant in Wuhan. I spend a lot of time with him, and he has a magic power. He seemed to can make friends with everyone, and he told me his secret to live in a foreign country and don't speak language, don't speak Chinese, but he can be friend with everyone, everyone he met. And
Yeah.
the secret is smell to everyone. Whatever the other people say, smell to him. So he will not be angry with you.
Yes. And he loved to smile all the time.
Yes, and I still can remember the first time I saw him, and his smell, and his smell will forever be remembered in my heart.
Oh,
That's
that's sweet.
it.
And thank you for all of your help, Kelvin. You've been such a support for all of us, and in doing the back and forth between us, and the communicating between the school and Professor Chow and Young Lee, and you've been so supportive. So thank you so much.
So I often talk with him and say, hey, I'm his assistant, but at the same time, I'm his friend, and
Yes.
he was the same age with my grandma, so I treat him like my boss.
And that's one of the things that was so great about Jim, is whether you were a friend, a colleague, or one of his daughter's friends' dads. I mean, he was just a friend to everybody, always. And whether you were a student or a senior scholar, he would do whatever he could to help get you published, or get a book series, or get an article, or anything. He would, it didn't matter who. He was always, you were just always a friend with Jim. Frank, you waved your hand earlier. Did you want to say something? Can't hear you. You've
Yeah.
got your, oh, there
Can
you
you
are.
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I had to go on my cell phone because I've had a problem with my computer. I wasn't able to unmute,
Oh, okay.
but I'm glad now that you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear.
I go along with Brad way back.
Raise your
Uh,
hand,
we
Brad.
were- Huh?
There we go. There's Brad.
Yeah, we go way back, all the way to 1975 when I moved into the ashram that he had started, the Spiritual Dawn community in Tallahassee. And everyone is talking about his patience and the way he treated everyone pretty much equally without showing favoritism. And he always wanted to help people better themselves and to work on themselves to raise their consciousness and be a better person. And he started all of us off on the right foot when we were in this Spiritual Dawn community. First time, me and probably most people had actually committed to living in a communal situation. Jim was a wonderful leader in that he was able to diffuse any kind of stress or any kind of argument that we might have. He was able to sit down and talk to us, and we were able to get through it without any great difficulty. The one thing that I distinctly remember about him is that he was always willing to talk to us about things that he understood very well, but that we were having difficulty, me in particular. I don't want to say other people had the difficulties. Brad is extremely sharp and probably understood things to a degree further than I did, but yoga was new to me. I'd never done this before in my life, but I felt an immediate attraction. Part of it, no doubt, due to Pundit's wonderful way of getting the lessons across. But I
And
felt
that's what you
immediate-
called Jim, right? It was Pundit.
Pundit, yes. At that
Yeah.
time, it was Pundit Singh. He had gone to Mount Dora and had gotten Mount Dora, Florida, and had gotten a degree, if that's the right word. He was an ordained Sikh minister. When we met him, he had the turban, the beard, the white clothes, and he looked like an American Sikh. And he had a fallout with the leader of the movement at that time. So our home was modeled on the way it was be set up formally, but we didn't do things like, he didn't require everyone to grow long beards if you were a man, or to wear white, and to do a lot of other things that were required if you were going to go into a formal ashram. But the long and the short of it is that he helped all of us develop. He helped us understand each other on a level that I had not experienced before, and to have empathy, to really listen to what people said and to understand what they meant. And he facilitated all of that on every day. He never acted egotistical. He never put himself on a pedestal. He was just an extremely smart, and ma'am, as I said in my written memorial, with a prodigious memory and an innate curiosity that was infectious. So he and I and all of us at Spiritual Dawn community, we gained a lot from knowing Jim Pundit, as we called him then. And he will always have a very important place in my heart.
Thank you very much. So if in the chat, I've put a link to a picture of Jim, just as he was describing. So if you want to click on the link, it'll take you right there. It's certainly a fun period of his life to look back on. And thank you both so much for sharing the pictures of the journal that he created and all the pictures of the comment. I have some of them up on the forum. And
yeah, I'll give Brad the credit for the pictures.
We have Gabor, who's joined us, and he is in Europe. So I am going to give him the chance to, oh, hold on one second.
I'm here. Yeah.
I've just gotten a chat from Aaron.
Okay, give the voice to Aaron, yes.
Yes. Aaron, if you want to go right now, you can say something now if you'd like. Otherwise, I can read your, oh, there you are. Okay.
Oh,
hi. Sorry, didn't know you had to leave. Go ahead, go please.
Oh, that's all right. I pretty much put what I had to say in the chat. I'm just deeply moved to be able to have a chance to see Jim's family and colleagues. And of course, like all of the other academic colleagues, I'm just very saddened with his passing, untimely, and just wanted to say that I hope we can continue his work in some way, and look forward to being in touch with anyone who'd like to be in touch. So I put my contact information in the chat.
Okay, and make sure you have the link to the website. I put it up above. I have a category on there if any of the scholars want to leave ideas or leave messages to other scholars, leave your contact information or ideas of projects if you'd like to do. And thank you for joining us, Aaron. I know you probably have a very interesting story about how you got to where you are with Jim. And I'm sorry you don't have tons of time to tell us your story, but thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Regards, everyone.
All right, and if anyone does need to leave, feel free to just exit the meeting. No hard feelings. It's hard with the timing all over the place. Gabor, let's go to you since it is almost 1 a.m. here.
Let me encourage everybody that in respect of Jim, and because if I have time, I can wait. So please ask again, Nicole. If anybody else has to leave, I give the primacy to them. I'm staying. Okay.
Okay.
So feel
is
free
anybody
to
else
give anybody
wanting
else.
to say something and they don't have much time to stay? You're welcome to take the floor. Oh, I think we're good. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. And I think this kind of memorial event is really in line with the spirit and innovative character of Jim. I already wrote a few, thoughts about him, and I met him at a later stage of his life. So I already met him as a professor, as an academic, as an established, I would say, even I would say influential scholar.
And tell us where you're from.
Sorry, I'm from Hungary. I'm from the University of Szeged, Hungary, and I have been working at the time when I met Jim at the Department for the Study of Religions. I'm an associate professor now at the University of Szeged. And obviously, religion research is something new. So we are the former Eastern Bloc, and you know that Jim was in Norway, and I had the opportunity to meet him at conferences, like on the conference about Scientology, and also at Isolicia, and at another conferences. And I also had the distinct pleasure to welcome Jim to my hometown and to my own home, and we cooked dinner for him. And to be honest,
and you almost got him to retire in Hungary.
Yeah, I very, very badly wanted him to come to Hungary for his retirement. We had a very strong personal bond formed between us and among us, and between us as two persons. And also, I'm leading a research association, and we have a vice president who is a lady, and she's an excellent scholar. And Jim was always trying to push her to how to get more recognition, how to advance her career, how to get empowered. And I feel the sincere, pure, good-hearted intentions of him coming. That I mentioned her that the memorial is tonight if she can. She might bump in, but Jim meant a whole lot to our community. From Szeged, I'm not only representing myself, but I'm representing other friends of Jim. I was probably the closest, and I really, really, really love him, and will continue to love him all my life. But he had a great influence on our community. Our professor András Máté taught. He's an older guy, and I told him about the memorial, and he told me that me, it's impossible for me to be up at 1 a.m. I told him, of course, I will give your regards to everybody here. And
there's a lot of colleagues
also,
of his that aren't able to join tonight because it's so late.
András really wanted Jim to come to Szeged, but I think András also had his selfish reasons, because Jim had, the Philosopher's Stone, which we missed from our formula. Because Jim could publish extremely well, and he was so innovative. And what we plan to do together, and to some extent did, is that he helped us publish, and we plan common research grants, because we are, and my company and also my university is very successful in winning research grants in the European Union and also worldwide. So we plan to combine our efforts. But you lucky Chinese friends got him, and I'm sure he wrote the best decision for himself and for his family. But we decided to keep in touch, and we really, really, really did. And just one personal memory I would like to share about Jim, that I think he is a person. We were sitting in Kaunas at the Isolicia conference in Lithuania at the terrace. The conference was at springtime, and Jim was, just looking around, looking at people, talking to me, talking about, the possible opportunities for the future and planning. And I felt that he was in perfect harmony with the entire surroundings, and we were in total peace. And I think I will nurture and safeguard that feeling with Jim, with being close together, being on the same page, and being in harmony in the nature, and talking sometimes nonsense and sometimes important things that we used to talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabor. I also have neglected to thank Rebecca Moore as well. She stepped in on the book series for Jim, and you've done a great job. And you sent, was it 3 copies of the last books in the series of 4 elements? And we thank you so much for that. And a beautiful card as well. And just
Thank you. I didn't know Jim as well as most of you here. And so I've really appreciated hearing stories from friends, from family, from colleagues. I love the pictures, the photos of him with his beard and turban. That was a side to him I never would have imagined. So I really regret that I didn't have it. I did work with him prior to becoming a co-editor with him on the Elements series. And one of the things that I noticed both as a contributor to his volumes and as a book review editor was his incredible generosity of spirit in letting relative unknowns and junior scholars and graduate students and people just starting out take credit or co-credit,
which is
for,
almost unheard of normally.
it really is. You know, you have this, you hear of this reputation for academic jealousy in the profession. And I just was very struck a long time ago about his generosity of spirit of sharing credit with all sorts of people. So I truly will miss his organizational skill. He's now been elevated to the status of founding editor of the Elements series. And I think I told someone like his Geist, you know, his spirit is definitely overlooking the series, because the proposal that he made is certainly guiding the current publications in the Elements and New Religious Movements, and is guiding future ones. So, but really thank you one and all for your wonderful profile and introduction, really, of me to Jim. I thank you very much.
Well, and thank you for taking over the project. And you've done some really interesting elements so far. So I'm sure he would be very proud of the work you've been doing. Sing Zhang, welcome. Can I invite you to say anything? I'd like to try to show the video if I share the screen, but I'm not sure if everyone can see it. But I have uploaded it to the website. You did a beautiful tribute video with some of the last pictures of Jim's trip to Hangzhou with you.
Thank you. I'm Xin Zhang from Hangzhou, China. Thank you, Nico, for inviting me to this warm, big, warm family. I want to show you one interesting photo of Jin. Maybe you know it.
Let's see if we can see it. Is it something that I put on the website already?
Could I share the print?
The
Share
screen?
the screen?
Yeah, let's try it. Let's see if it works.
Oh no, cannot.
Oh,
share.
here, let me.
I'm not permitted to share the screen. Could you permit?
Do I have the photo? Did you send it to me?
Oh, I send you. Yeah, yes, it's good.
Let's see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go, but anyway, it's very nice
Right.
seeing you again.
Thank you for joining, Paul. It was so good to see you.
And thanks for putting this on. So,
Hello.
oh, this is Allie.
Hi.
This is KK's KK's daughter, Allie.
Oh
is
my
so
gosh,
much
she's
like
gotten
KK.
so big.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, she's cute.
Anyway, okay, well,
All right.
best of luck and
Thank you,
thanks again.
Paul. Okay,
See
bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, shall I check my email for the photo?
There's a message. Oh, cannot. Moment.
One moment, please.
Moment. Sorry.
That's okay. You should be able to. I'm looking to see if I can give you permission to share the screen.
It is sending. You
Okay.
can get.
Oh, here we go. It's been sent to everyone, so let's see if I can share it. I can, otherwise people can.
In the messenger room, you can find it. Could you find it?
Is this the a group of photos of Jim when he was younger? That's not the one, is it?
Yeah, this is a photo of his young, his youth time when he was young.
Yes, yes. So this is a. He must have emailed this to you. Yes.
Okay.
Let's see if I can share this.
Very interesting. Originally, I want to show the video of Jim's photos in Hangzhou, but it's difficult to share the screen because of the firewall, I think.
Oh, possibly, yeah.
So I just want to say thanks to Jim for his
Because I
great
can't get on, I can't get my
contribution.
picture up here.
His contribution for the friendship
Yes.
between Chinese scholars and Western scholars.
He was very committed to building the bridge between Western scholars and Chinese scholars.
And he's very important for us
Yeah.
to know with each other with foreign scholars.
And he understood that.
The one
a
I
lot.
keep popping up there.
During his illness, I and Margot and several colleagues have contacted through Zoom to talk with Jim. So I cannot imagine he has left us.
Yeah.
I don't believe. Just I think he's still live with us. So I hope his spirit will often visit us in Hangzhou and always visit me for several months or even full time in our city.
Well,
And
I know that he would love to do that.
So I want to use this chance to invite friends, relatives and friends to visit Hangzhou with his spirit. I will welcome you.
That's very nice.
Just like he has not left us.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Xingzai. It's so nice of you, very kind. And I know Jim loved visiting very much. And between Wuhan and Hangzhou, he was so happy to be in China. He absolutely loved it. And he couldn't wait to get back. He couldn't wait to get back on his feet and get back to China. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way.
So I hope Nico and Eve could visit us soon.
With pleasure, I would love to.
I show you the places Jim loves. There are
Okay.
many places Jim loves, especially the hotel we organize meeting. Margot like that place also. So
Well, maybe we will do a reunion meeting at some point. with Jim in
If it is
spirit.
possible, we could continue his friendship and career. We fulfill his not finished works together.
Well, he would love that. And that's something he will be forever working in eternity at his computer, making up new projects. And you've been working a lot to set up wonderful things for him as well. So it's not a finished story between James Lewis and China. So between
Actually, I admire James very much. He's actually a mentor for me.
oh,
Uh,
well, he respected you very much as well.
During his illness, he actually, Eve and him is in here. But when we meet each other on Zoom, I can feel the optimistic. I can feel the happiness in his mind.
Mhm.
So he live out the heaven in here. So I admire him very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Zing Zhang. That's lovely. And please visit the homepage of the website to see the beautiful video that he created. I have your video up on the homepage now.
I think.
Thank you. Alex, you had said you wanted to say something. Welcome, you're with us now.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I just want to say my thanks to Nicole to hold this event, to hold this memorial service for us to share our memories about James. James is a wonderful colleague for me. I am James' colleague back in Wuhan, and I assisted him with the journal and with other things in his daily life. And he always trying to help others and understand them. This is very shocking, not shocking, very a good thing for me to know about James. I remember that once James was in Wuhan, I accompanied him to the dentist, and the dentist in Wuhan, so some of the dentists in Wuhan, they are very good, very professional, but some people are shy everywhere around the world. They are afraid to communicate with people. So that
in
is
English.
the dentist we have in the case. So the dentist kept James waiting for more than 1 hour. That's incredible. After I figured out the reason was that only she was so shy about her ability to communicate in Chinese that she would not like to see any foreign patient. But after James was aware of the situation, after he realized what happened, he did not show any displeasure to him, to the dentist, to her. Rather, he began to encourage her with any English phrase she said. Well, so it's warming, it's just heart beating. And so his word obviously worked. The dentist told us afterwards that thanks to James, she could cope with the situation better in the future. But James was always diving into the surrounding and glad to understand the different culture and ideology. That reflects in his academic works and reflects in his daily lives. So he was always helping people. As me, he cares about my academic publishing and cares about the lady who cleans his rooms weekly. And always helping others to be better, even a little along their own path. To me, he was not only a scholar or professor in his profession, he really lives his ideology out. That's the memory I want to share about James to your people. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's a great story. And you had said in your email that she started seeing foreign patients after Jim encouraged her with her English. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And I always, by the way, I always, I also have 4 cats in my with me. When
Carol, you've got a fellow cat person.
Yeah, he was very exciting about them and constantly ask about them. That's very, very.
He loves
good.
cats. He loves cats. That's why I encourage anyone to upload and share cat comic and cat memes on the website. He would absolutely love it.
Okay.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Is there anybody else that has any stories that they would like to share?
Just, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Hello,
Okay,
Michael.
I'm Anthony from Chicago. And I met Jim when he was teaching at DePaul University.
Okay.
Yeah. And he would invite me. I'm with a spiritual group called Adidam.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Did you speak in some of his classes?
Yeah, I spoke in many of his classes because he taught around Chicago for quite a while. And I don't know if Eve is still on. I don't see her face, but I actually went up to Stevens Point in Wisconsin and spent the night with Jim and Eve and had a few meals with them too.
Find out where she went.
Okay. Well, anyway, Jim was wonderful. I mean, he was an absolutely wonderful man. And we hit it off immediately. And I have to say, he was so respectful and inquisitive. And he called Adi Da Samraj, our spiritual teacher, he called him Master Da, and spoke with great respect about him, and always was just incredibly generous with his being curious and inquisitive. And he also, and at the same time, he encouraged me to do what I could to introduce Adi Da to the scholarly world. And so we collaborated on several projects together, and he was just incredible. He was so accepting and so open.
Yeah.
And I think genuinely spiritually sensitive to Adi Da Samraj, and probably to many other faiths and teachers as well. And he was a credit to the scholarly community by taking new religious movements seriously and looking into the substance of what they were, and never being critical. I never heard a critical word from him about anything. He used to spend the nights, because when he moved to Wisconsin, he'd spend the nights at our ashram when he had to teach at DePaul University.
That's right. That's when he was driving all over the place.
That's right. And we had a lot of fun together. And it was I always look forward to seeing him. I'd see him every week, and we'd have breakfast together, and he'd show me the next publishing project that he had completed. And I mean, the man was so prolific and so capable in the publishing world. It was astonishing to me. And I had no clue what academic publishing was all about. And with Jim around, I didn't have to because he knew how to do it. Yeah. He knew how to do it for everybody. And he was so encouraging and supportive, as others of you have said. So I just want to send my love and blessing to all of you and to Jim as a dear friend and a long, basically a 20-year colleague who when I heard the news, I was deeply saddened, and I still am. I feel his spirit as others of you do.
Thank you.
And I have a great love for him, and I just always have an enduring love for Jim.
And that's amazing. I'm so glad that you have come from that portion of his life. Mom, your internet went out when he was introducing himself, but he's from Aridam and he's from the ashram in Chicago when Jim was teaching at DePaul. So you missed that part. And you've reminded me of maybe a story I should share with everybody, because not really a story, but just, there's different sections of Jim's life. There was the ashram years and also his growing up family years, which none of us know except your mom, Ara. But then there were the ashram years, which you guys have represented, and thank you for sharing pictures. And then there was the reference book era where he and my mom were struggling with that, the feast and famine of writing reference books, which then Wikipedia wiped out. And then there were the teaching years at University of Wisconsin and DePaul. And he really, do you want to say something, Mara? Yes, hold on, unmute.
Yeah. You mentioned nobody knows the early Uncle Jimmy.
Yes.
And I don't either because I wasn't born, but
right.
Some famous family stories about him when he was young
tell.
Is that one time he somehow managed from Florida, where they lived, to hitchhike to the Bahamas.
To the Bahamas?
Yeah. So that's no small feat, because he actually convinced someone to buy him a plane flight from Florida to the Bahamas. And my grandfather had to get a plane flight and fly over and find him in the Bahamas.
Do you know how old he was?
High school? Mom? I have mom on speaker.
I think it was high school, yeah.
High school. So a high schooler convinced someone to fly him to the Bahamas with them. So
amazing. Well, he was always mobile then, because he kept flying everywhere.
And a story he thought was absolutely hilarious when he was in high school, him and his buddies, for some reason, put a large fish, because they were in Florida, in a laundry dryer. In a public laundromat in the dryer. And he just laughed and laughed and laughed telling that story.
Oh, Jim.
My uncle put my mom in a boat and set her off in a motorboat by herself.
Oh my
She was
goodness.
like 9 years younger than them. And they got in yeah, she was 5, so they got in a lot of trouble for that.
I would hope so.
And
Okay,
then
so Jim was a bit naughty then, was he?
And he did experiments with his friends. I remember him talking about this, where they would lay on their back with a bow and arrow and fire it up in the air, because they had calculated the odds it would fall down and hit them.
It wouldn't hit them.
It wouldn't hit them. Yeah. So that's pretty daring if you ask me.
Yeah.
The confidence in their abilities to figure that out.
Well, those are some fun stories. Thank you for sharing, Ara.
Some early year stories I remember hearing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, hitchhiking to the Bahamas, that's a feat, I would have to say.
Always
And-
amazed me. He talked someone into that.
All right, well.
But thank you for this. This has been amazing. And hearing everyone talk about him is beautiful, because I remember him as being just always sweet and patient.
Yeah, I'm so glad you could join us. And I haven't
Mhm.
seen you in years and years and years.
I know. We were young. I remember shopping at the mall in San Jose together.
It was a long time ago.
It was.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. So, so the years in Wisconsin when he was teaching, he really developed a taste for reaching out to his students. And there's so many stories he would come home from school with, because I went to the university there as well. My mom convinced me to leave California and come to the middle of Wisconsin to go to university. And so I would hear his stories after his classes. And one of the things that he loved to do was bring in members from local groups to speak to the classes themselves so that students could directly interface and ask questions, and whatever questions, day-to-day life. He absolutely did not think that people should sit in a classroom and read a book all day. And so he made it interesting, he made it fun. And in the small religious studies department that was part of the greater philosophy department, he started having crowds of students in his classrooms, that not only did his own students actually show up to class, but their friends came and their friends' friends came. And there would literally be packs of students in the hallway trying to squeeze into the rooms to join his classes because they were so fascinated by what they learned. And that is not something that usually happens for most philosophy classes and humanities in general, probably. So, or any subject perhaps, that you would have mobs of people trying to get in to attend someone else's class that's not even on your own schedule. So thank you. It was a nice reminder of those days when he would be driving all over, and he would teach in the University of Wisconsin system. He would teach in Stevens Point, in what was the other one? It was not Appleton. Was it Appleton? You're muted. I can't hear you. Hold on. Ask to unmute. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Are you asking me?
Oh, sorry. No, I'm talking to my mom. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm just looking at her on the screen, so obviously she's reading my mind.
Yes, I am. It was Madison and Milwaukee.
Oh, it was
and
Milwaukee. Oshkosh, that's the one, not Appleton. So he would
Yeah.
teach, he would drive between Stevens Point, Oshkosh, and Milwaukee. And then he tacked on DePaul in Chicago as well. So for half of the week, he'd be away teaching at different universities.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was something. While I can be heard, if Frank is still on.
Yes.
Jim said, I'm wondering if Frank was in the ashram at the time that Jim had a fly land on his forehead. And he said to everybody, look, this is the third fly. So
third eye, third fly.
Right.
Classic joke that Jim would make.
It is. Also, next to Kelvin, there was a gentleman there. He didn't get to say anything. We need to introduce.
This is Professor Chow next to him.
Oh my God! Then we need him to speak. It just everybody slipped up. We need to have Professor Chow, for goodness sakes. And what about Professor Young?
Oh, he couldn't join. He couldn't make it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, please, let's not have Professor Chow be part of a communication. It just jumped off so quickly to somebody else. So if he's still there.
Yeah, he's there.
I wanted to say to Kelvin that, because Kelvin was saying how much Jim would smile, and it's really the biggest thing about.
Uh-oh. She froze.
Was his smiling eyes. Isn't that true, Nicole?
But you froze for a
smiling
moment.
eyes.
But yes, he had very smiling eyes. Yes.
And people saw that. Yeah.
Kelvin, I don't know, maybe if you want to translate something for Professor Chow, or if he'd like to say anything, I'll give you the floor.
Yes, I will translate some of them.
Oh, there he is. Hello.
Can you see this picture?
Yes, and I think if you select it, you
你
may
们
be
知道
able
这个照片吗？这个照片的话是武汉大学的校长在给他发到武汉大学工作的聘书。
This picture is about the principal of Wuhan University. How to say? give Jim the documents of the hiring.
Oh, okay. So he's presenting the document of him being hired as a
Yes.
professor at Wuhan University.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's a lovely
当时
picture.
我们非常重要的一个仪式，我跟路易斯说是校长要给他发聘书。他问我，他喜欢穿一件白色的休闲西服，他问是不是太随意了。
So Chow told Jim that we will host a very important ceremony for him to celebrate his new job, and Jim asked Chow
说校长给他
asked Chow whether it was suitable for him to wear a white suit.
Okay. And did he have a white suit?
我跟他说了，我们都不在乎这些事情。路易斯说，美国人和中国人更像。
So Chow told him, we don't care about these things. And Jim responded, Americans are similar with Chinese at this point.
And so did he wear a white suit? Because the picture shows him in a white jacket. Is that correct?
What?
The picture Jim is wearing a white jacket in the picture, yes?
No, the white suit.
It's a full white suit. Yes. And so he had on a white jacket for the ceremony then. So that was good, yes? Everything was good. Okay.
Very.
在我们学院里面有11个外教，他和他们相处非常愉快。
There are 11 foreign teachers in our school, and he has a very good relationship with them.
Yes, he would speak about the other colleagues.
我们上他的课的学生，我们和他熟悉的老师的话，都非常喜欢他。
All those colleagues and the students who participated his classes are very like him.
His students always loved him.
And this thought him like a Christmas, how to say, the grandpa of the Christmas, how to say the name?
Oh,
I don't.
The Grinch, like the person who's grumpy at Christmas?
The old man with white beard.
Oh.
In Christmas Day.
Like I don't know.
Santa Christmas.
Oh, Santa, yes. The man with the white beard, Santa.
That's the accurate name. Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa Claus. Yeah. So that's what they referred to him as.
2020年的话，他离开武汉的时候，是我们去送他，送他了以后，房间租的房间没有退，到今天的话，学院里面的办公室还跟他空着。
Since the last time we sent him leave Wuhan on 2020, and the apartment he rents has been kept, and his office has been kept until today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for all your support through this.
我们一直在等他能够回来和我们一起工作生活。
We are waiting for him to come back to work with us.
Oh, he was waiting too. He could not wait to come back. He was so happy to work in Wuhan.
他现在去世了，我们非常的震惊，也非常的悲痛。我们希望通过Nico，通过你们全家，通过你们的朋友的话，我们保持非常密切的关系。
We are very sad and to hear and very sorry to hear his pass away.
Yeah.
We are expecting to keep in touch with you and his family.
Absolutely, of course. I mean, you guys have been so helpful through all of this. So absolutely. And Jim considered everybody family and friends. So that extends from us as well.
希望以后有机会邀请你们到武汉大学。
We hope to someday we can invite you to come to Wuhan and to Wuhan University.
Thank you. We'd love to. And thank you for joining us. Is there anybody else that would like to share a story? I think we've covered a lot. We'll probably wrap it up. But if there's anyone else that would like to say anything. Susan, I see that you've been on here without video. If you have any stories you would like to share, I'm glad that you could join us. But you're on mute, so we can't hear anything.
Oh, yes, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Sorry, I left my camera in the city. I'm in my country house.
That's fine. We can hear you.
Well,
fine.
I could just say that. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, we can all hear you.
Okay, good. Well, I could just say that I enjoyed talking to Jim, when I would bump into him at conferences, and we would exchange stories about the exciting new religious, charismatic leaders we had been hanging out with. And he would tell funny stories. And one story he told was, of course, about that amazing channeler who channeled dolphins.
Oh yes, he loved.
And he did a sort of mime he sort of mimed him flapping his fingers. It was very funny the way he did it. And he said he was saying, "Stop throwing your crap in our ocean." And then he also told an interesting story about Elizabeth Clare Prophet, that he was sitting in her trailer with her husband and they're watching TV, they're watching sports, and she had her hair in curlers and she was wearing house slippers and she was being like very, very casual. And he felt completely in awe at her charisma. And he said this proved to him that charisma was something real that just emanated from somebody. It wasn't, he'd always taught his students it was socially constructed, but he was completely, zapped by her charisma, even though she was obviously making no effort to impress him. So I thought that was super interesting.
Yes. That is.
I guess that's really all I have to say that's original. I'll just be repeating what everybody else has been saying.
That's a really interesting story to share.
His daughter was
Thank you.
earlier.
Yeah, Erin she left early. She left a long comment in the chat that was Elizabeth Clare Prophet's daughter. And he
oh yes, I know her well. Yes, of
course.
course.
Yeah, he had helped her break into academia. So, well, thank you for sharing, Susan.
He was very proud of Erin. He was very proud of Erin. So I hope, I don't know if she's still here or if she's on.
No, she left.
Ah, okay.
You should definitely.
Well, I already told Erin the story. She knows it.
Yeah. I don't, can Susan, I'm saying hello to her.
Yes, she can hear you.
Oh, hello.
Hello. I'm in Jim's office. This beautiful Chinese print behind us. Jim loved his ability and relationship to be in China. That was he couldn't wait to go back there and have me come with him, and we lived there. So he was very, very happy in China. It's a shame that he looked forward to this so much.
So I'm just gonna run through any last people. Angela Burt, would you like to say anything? You've been here since the beginning, and I'm sorry I don't know you.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. It's been just lovely to hear all of the stories from people. So I'm one of those young scholars that Jim gave an opportunity to publish one of the elements. So Rebecca Moore's been helping me get that together. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity, and to also publish my PhD thesis in one of his series that he was editing for Routledge. So yeah, I really so much appreciate it. As somebody mentioned, or I think a few people have mentioned, he was always willing to give opportunities for people who weren't well known, who are younger scholars, and that generosity of spirit that he had. So I'm very indebted to him, and I trust that he knows that those projects are going ahead, and wherever he is, and just want to thank you for the opportunity to come to the memorial today. It's just been lovely just to get to know him better, because our relationship was mostly through emails. So I never actually met Jim in person. So we had some email exchanges when he was inviting me. So that was a nice thing. I didn't approach him. He just invited me to publish in some of his series. So yeah, just want to thank everybody for just the opportunity to hear about these different sides of his life.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And
thank you.
I'm so glad that you were able to be a part of it. Carol, did you want to say something? Did you raise your hand?
I just wanted to pass on, seeing Angela reminded me that two colleagues from my department who weren't able to attend today, Emeritus Professor Gary Trumpf and Dr. Christopher Hartney, both asked to be remembered to the group and essentially asked me to convey the same message, which was that they greatly appreciated Jim's collegiality and were saddened by his passing.
Thank you. Duly noted. Also, I have a message from Henrik Bogdan, who wanted to join, but he's traveling and has iffy internet. But he also has the same experience with Jim of working together, bringing in on publishing and joining book series and elements and journals. And he worked a lot with Jim. And one of the funny things that he said, that Jim was incredibly generous with his time and connections in the publishing world, and he took it upon himself to push for young scholars in a way that we rarely see in academia. I will miss Jim's knowledge, energy, enthusiasm, support, and wonderful sense of humor, and being bombarded by his emails, as I'm sure most of you can attest to. And that's with a heavy heart that he bids farewell to his friend. So, anybody else? Jamie, do you want to say anything? I see you there, and I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh my God.
No, you don't need to say anything. It's another one of my friends who knows Jim for
decades. I was thinking about how I met him when I was probably 16 years old. And I just remember that he always had this calm presence, and he didn't, take the limelight, or he was just kind of there. And then you could ask a question to him, and then something just amazing that you're like, what did you just teach me about the world? And it was just so profound in the moment. And you're like, I just didn't see that coming. And I think it was something that I learned to be very inquisitive with him, because I got to learn so much. And it wasn't going to be just a simple answer. It was going to be like this in-depth, something he's studied, and you're just like, wow, just incredible. So I'll miss those conversations that I had no idea where they were going to go. And I was just going to listen and just absorb, because it was just fascinating. And, I'll really miss that. And it was just a pleasure to be around.
And that's basically how our family dinners and family meals would go, is, we would never know what we would wind up talking about.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. You never knew how how in depth also on world issues
Mhm.
or how things were studied and challenged would be brought to your attention. And then you're like, wow, it just makes you think a different way. And you get to learn something every time. So
We
I
were
always
all very
treasure-
lucky to get to know this man.
Yeah. And I love that there's a picture of the of that time when he was a Sikh, because he told me about that. And I have never seen an actual picture until today. So that was fantastic. That was amazing.
Thank you again, Brad, for uploading those pictures. It was great. All right. Anybody else? Going, gone. All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody to join us. Oh, Brad, do you want to say something? Did you just raise your hand?
You're on
You gotta-
mute, Brad.
You gotta unmute.
Okay, yeah, I really wasn't going to say anything, but I almost put a video up, and there was a thing we used to say, and it actually came out of a folk song. We thought it was something profoundly spiritual, but it was just very simple. May the longtime sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. And they say that at one of the churches in Nashville all the time. And it was something that I always considered something of from the ashram days. We used to chant that.
Well, that's probably why he was able to go 2 years in the bed and still have a smile on his face without being able to talk and just waiting to come home and get better. That sums it up.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Again, the website's going to be up to share anything else if you want to share a message on the forum or upload pictures. It'll be there and there'll be more information. Frank, are you wanting to say something? You have to unmute yourself though.
Yeah, Brad brought that up about the longtime sun. I still do Kundalini yoga. I do it at least once. I still do it. Yeah, I do it at least once a week.
Good for you.
And we close our sadhana with that, what Brad just said, may the longtime sun shine upon you. So I think of all of those people, not just Pundit, but of all the people that were in the ashram, and it gives me a warm and good feeling inside to know that even though it was so long ago, as Brad so eloquently said, it still resonates within him after all these years, and it does me too. Jim affected a lot of people early in life, and here I am 78 years old, and I still think of all of the wonderful things he did for us.
Amazing.
And I want to take this opportunity to real quickly, while Ara and Clint are on line and listening, they had visited us many years ago, and I just wanted to say, I'm sorry we kind of lost contact there. We're still in the same place. We would love to see you. Anytime you want to come to the mountains, you've got a place to stay. We'd love to see you.
Anytime,
Thank you.
Frank.
We will definitely come see you again. We miss you.
We're not that far away. We're just outside of Richmond now.
Wonderful. Well, come see us.
We will, and you're welcome here anytime.
Thank you, sweetie.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And with that, I will close by saying, may the longtime sunshine shine upon you.
Beautiful. Nicole, thank you for putting this together. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Nicole,
Yes.
since Kevin and Thor is here also, I want to say something to him.
Please
I
do.
just want to thank Kevin and Thor for bridge of the friendship between I and Jim. Actually, I know Jim through Thor, Professor Thor. So I thank you very much. So how about let's talk about the future plan for co-hosting relatives and friends and colleagues of Jim to China. Something like conference trips.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Okay.
He would love that.
We can discuss later in detail.
Okay. Well, keep me posted on what you guys decide.
Yes, we would like very would allow to do that, to discuss that.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. And again, the website, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave a post there and it comes, I check it. So if you need to get a hold of me, I'm the one that does it. So thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Bye.
Nico.
Yes.
Hi. Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can call me Joe, and this is what Jim called me. And several days ago, I learned the news from Calvin, and the moment that I learned the news, I was wearing a T-shirt that Jim once gave to me as a gift. This is what I'm wearing now, as you can see.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so I was just shocked when I learned about the news, and memories flooded in, and I am his student in Wuhan University, and I was a student of Professor Chow. And I still remember the days when he came to China. I really admire his courage, despite his inconveniences of health. He takes the large luggages, and I and Calvin helped him to live in the apartment. We help him buy furnitures, and I was shocked when I went into his bedroom, because there is a how to say there is a ventilator.
A fan, like a thing with a spinning.
Yes. So I know he has some problems with him, but he's still very committed to his work. That's why that I'm very admire of him. And I also want to show my gratitude for Jim, because he teaching us in 2020, the year of COVID-19, and it was international publishing course, and he helped a lot of us to get our first English articles published, including me. So I was very excited when my paper was get published, and Jim listed me as a co-writer. I emailed him to show my excitement, but I didn't receive any reply. I think he was in the hospital. So I want to show my great gratitude for him. Yes. And
well, thank you. I know that he would know that you were very grateful for the publishing. But thank you.
Yes.
And thank you sharing, and I appreciate how much he meant to everyone there. So thank you so much for sharing. And I love the t-shirt.
Yes, I love it too.
Great. Okay, anybody else? Things that you've just uploaded some photos to share with people. If you can click them in the chat, you can see them now. Otherwise, I'll take these and I'll upload them on the website so people can see them later. Okay. All right. Mom, you're muted.
And Alex just wrote something nice, that because I had said that Jim had loved his colleagues so very much, and was always praising Professor Chow and Kelvin and the student that he just spoke. I didn't hear his name because I was muted.
He said he called you Joe, right?
Joe.
Yes, Joe. Yeah, Joe is fine.
Yes, he knows your appreciation, and I just want you all to know how much his heart was so happy and fulfilled in his coming to China and being part of your culture and being part of the most wonderful colleagues. He said he was looking forward to our moving there. So, and I was too.
And yeah, so much love and friendship with Zhang and Kelvin and Yong and Chow. Yes, so much. He couldn't wait to get back. And he was very mad about COVID because he wanted to come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
thank you, everybody.
thank you so much. And again, thank you, Carol, for everything. And you know what? There's one more thing I want to say to you, because we started on the ASRR, and in all these years I've been putting myself as on LinkedIn and on my resume of being an editor, and I became an editor-in-chief of a magazine. But you, ma'am, are the one who really taught me the nitty-gritty, tiny itty-bitty bits of editing.
Oh, that is so kind. Thank you very much.
I mean, the punctuation in the footnotes, you don't miss anything, and I learned so much from you.
Well, it's another famous thing about being an academic, a little bit of obsessive compulsive disorder is a wonderful thing. Too much of it is a bit terrible, but I think I keep mine under control generally.
Well, what it does is makes you make really impeccable journals. And
well, I'll be back to you with more stuff about that fairly soon, in a couple of days.
Good.
Okay. Thank you for everything, Nicole.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you all are. And we'll be in touch some way, and perhaps we'll meet in China for
that'd be nice.
A nice conference to remember Jim and his work.
Yes.
All right.
Well,
thank you so much.
As Xing Zhang said, he wants to carry on Jim's work.
Yeah.
And this is something that Carol needs to know about and we talk about. And Xing Zhang, I had a conference with George about the production of the journal you'll be very pleased about. And I don't know if you got our email back, but the things that you asked about for what you wanted in your proposal, Jim gave me the authority to tell you everything you wanted. He agreed to, was fine. So that you take charge of that the way you want to do it. And we will talk to our what do we call George? He's our producer of putting it the journal online. He's very brilliant. So we will move ahead in doing that with you. It'd be absolutely wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We will reconnect in other ways and other places. Okay.
Yes, and
As
we're
we say
going
in
to,
France, bisous.
Right.
All right. Good
See
night.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Nico.
See you later.
bye-bye. Yeah.
Nico. Take good care.
Thank
Safe.
you.
Yes.
And you
Good.
too. You as well.
Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Okay, see you.
Bye.
Excellent job.